Hi, my name is Giselle Wellman from Pacific Standard in San Diego, Top Chef Season 13. You're here listening to Sean Rosler from Coarse podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 47 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always, host, creator, and all-around beer drinker, Sean Rosler. How you doing this evening? You know, I woke up last night in a cold sweat. My hands started fumbling for the remote, and I turned to Bravo and realized, you know, Top Chef hasn't come back on the air yet. And sure, they've announced where it's going to be and revealed some of the return chef testants, but it's not on yet. So logically, I start binge watching last season. And the cool part about my gig now as this host in my free time is that as I watched, I saw Isaac and I saw Karen, and I was like, wow, holy shit, I talked to them on my show. Awesome. And talented as the season was, I thought to myself, I should try to land another guest from Cali, one who I really took notice of, and land her I did. Again, one of my other faves, and you'll see why shortly. At an early age, tonight's guest first fell in love with cooking as a way to bring people together, instilled in her by her Jewish-Mexican family. After attending culinary school in Mexico City at Le Cordon Bleu, she started working in her hometown of San Diego at the former Star of the Sea, with dreams of broadening her opportunities and furthering her education. Tonight's guest spent the next 8 years crossing the country, honing her skills and developing her craft, working for internationally renowned chefs, including... Not a big list at all, right? Thomas Keller, Bar Bouchon, Bouchon Bakery, Jean-Georges, and Mario Batali. When she returned to California, this young fireball chef became the youngest female executive chef in Los Angeles at the age of 26. And let's be honest, I don't know what I was doing at 26, but it wasn't executive chefing. At the upscale French-influenced Petrosian restaurant in 2010. In 2015, she competed on Bravo TV's nationally acclaimed program Top Chef. Now, here we are in 2016, and our guest makes her way back to San Diego as executive chef of the newly opened Pacific Standard Coastal Kitchen in the Little Italy neighborhood. And here I am grateful I had a job, again, at 26. But anyway, her body of work is only equaled by her phenomenally engaging persona, and it's my sincere hope that I make it out west sooner than later to dine by her hand. But enough about what I want. Let's bring her out. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest this evening, Top Chef Season 13 standout and the executive chef of the newly opened Pacific Standard, Chef Giselle Wellman. Chef, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. What an introduction. Thank you.
I do what I can because I figure I've got to impress you up front because I'm going to let you down as this goes on, but you know.
No, I'm sure you won't.
That's okay. So folks new to the program, folks with shitty short-term memories like myself, starters, mains, afters, 3 sets of questions. Starters, where did the guests come from? Mains, where are they at? And afters, what are they doing? And a couple more off the cuff. No one's ever been injured in 46 episodes. I don't expect that to happen here tonight. So without further ado, Chef Giselle Wellman, tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
I grew up in San Diego with a very big Latin culture. My family is from Mexico City, so at the same time we were Jewish. So I grew up on Latin culture, Latin flavors or Mexican flavors kind of sneaking their way into traditional Jewish food. So lemon and spice in our matzo ball, and I never knew that posole actually had pork until I was much older. We used to eat it with chicken, and just like that. My mom wasn't the best of cooks, but I had a lot of really talented chefs around me and my family, and so I just think that both cultures, the Jewish culture and the Mexican culture, focuses a lot on bringing family together through food. So I'm not entirely sure if it was about the actual food that we were eating, but more about what food does and how it brings people together and how important that element is in family traditions.
Sure. That's actually one of the first like liner notes, I guess you'd call them, that I read about you. Like, you know, it was very family driven, very connectivity driven, and I think if there's been a common thread across all the episodes we've done here, that's definitely one of them. And having a culture and having just an upbringing where family was a cornerstone, I'm sure that crafted you as a chef here and now today. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that like the Shabbat dinner is really what got me inspired to be in the kitchen and to cook. And I don't remember the last Shabbat dinner that I actually cooked for, because, you know, once you get introduced into this lifestyle, I mean, it's kind of a hard lifestyle to be at Friday night dinner every Friday. But it was really that introduction of what food kind of did to, I mean, how it brought my family together, and how at the end of the day, I realized that when you cook a meal for someone, you get instant satisfaction. You know, it's like you see the face right away, you make people happy right away. And I really liked how quick the turnover is, you know, like you make something and people are so excited and grateful for it right away. And I guess I'm a giving and loving person. It's something that makes me happy to see. So, I mean, even today when I go out to a table and hear how, you know, I know that it's more than just the food. And I always tell this to my servers. It's experience. It's how you talk to them, and how it's so much more. It's more than just the food. It's everything that we put on in restaurants that really fulfill that, you know, the instant gratification that a great meal gives you.
Absolutely. Mark it down. We're batting 1,000 here for the whole, you know, serving element, adding that invisible flavor. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not, you know, it's not on your palate, but it ends up affecting that palate at the end of the meal. For
Absolutely. Sure. I have, not that I think that my food is always perfect, but sometimes when people bring back food, I always, you know, I want to know as much as I can about the actual customer, and you know, like, are they getting along at the table? Are they being rude to the server? I mean, sometimes, you know, people are just in a bad mood or get in a fight with their significant other at the table, and then suddenly, you know, everything starts to just bother them, you know? So it's funny how our mood and the music and the service and the way that the wine is flowing and all that just has a lot to do with our experience and how we enjoy food.
For sure, yeah. And you know, I'm actually going to step out of form. See, this is why I told you, you know, some guests will ask for the questions up front, but, like, I never get to them. I'm always off script. So what's your take on the prevalence of Yelp in the industry today, and other things like it?
I believe in Yelp. I believe in listening to your customer. At the end of the day, I can't make a living without people in my chairs. And I believe that if someone is saying multiple times, if there's multiple reviews that say the same thing, then it's something to pay attention to. I actually wish that I would spend more time reading the positive stuff, but I read every single review that I can learn something from. And I can take it for its own judgment, you know, like whatever it is. But I think that it is extremely important to hear what your own clientele has to say about what you're doing. Absolutely. It's hard because what we do is so passionate that we don't want to hear it. You know, I don't know a chef that's not passionate about their art and their craft, and we don't want to hear negative review, but we have to. It's the way that we grow. Right.
Yeah, and it's a pretty easy cop-out to fold your arms in front of your, you know, white chef jacket and say, well, the hell does this guy know? You know, and I've unfortunately heard, you know, a lot more than not kind of take that stance on it. But much like anything, I think if you bore down through it, you brought up something important. It's the repeat offenders that you have to take notice of. You know, somebody's gonna be a little salty about the way something was done. All right, the hell with them. But if you see it come in 10, 15 times, that's when you want to know, right?
I mean, I think 10, 15 times is way too much to make a difference. You know, I think that even the second review that mentions the same thing should be a red flag, because you shouldn't really be getting negative reviews. So you should really, really, really be looking at those negative reviews and really coming to terms to understand what it is and what the experience was and who was the server and who worked that day. And, I really, I don't want to see it again. So I really believe in, making every single person that walks in the store happy. And that's why I make a big deal. Like, when servers take it upon themselves to take care of a problem and then, later, let's say, finding it out on Yelp, it's like we could have done so much while this person was sitting at the restaurant.
Right.
It's funny how little gestures just change the whole experience. And, Pacific Standard is inside of a hotel. So we talk about, guest service a lot as a whole for the hotel. And it's really, we are in the service of hospitality. And I think a lot of chefs forget that. And I think that when we don't leave our egos at the door and we think that, this celebrity chef world that's become, at the end of the day, this is hospitality. We're here to make people happy and we're here to serve them what they want. Right. So, yes, I have a menu and I've worked really hard on my menu, but if you just want to come in and change my salad and you're happy with that and you're going to come in on every Tuesday to have that, who am I to say like, no, these like little things on the bottom of the menus that say no substitutions and nah. I just don't understand where chefs lost the understanding of what we do for a living. We're creative, we're passionate, we cook. Yes. But we cook this to clientele that are here because we're in the service industry. So.
Holy shit! I have heard a lot of people explain the passion that they have. A good amount. That may be one of the most cohesive, clearly honest, but just gentle, caring answers I've ever heard in my life. That was brilliant. That was fucking brilliant. And obviously it's heartfelt because, again, and I can only harken back to this because there's only been a few guests who I've actually met like in person. Watching the show, you see this exude from certain people on it. And that was one of the first things I picked up on you. I'm like, wow, I'd like to eat at her place. I'd like to eat at Myers and Chang, and I'd like to eat at Toops. And it all kind of came down to the persona, the personality that was evident that you feel like you would be taken care of as a guest.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I found it a really hard place to be on Top Chef for me personally because under the stressful environment of whatever you are stressed about, for me it was extremely hard to be personable and creative, and there's a whole side of hospitality that you don't show on the show, and it's really ego driven. And of course we all have an ego, and we all we have to have some sort of confidence to get through the door and get through each day. So and we all enjoy being the center of attention sometimes, but to me that was just I felt extremely overwhelmed with that because it's not 100% what makes me a chef, I don't know. I found it really hard.
You feel like you're more of the sum of the parts around you, as well as your own talent. Like you see the whole landscape.
Yeah, of course. I realize that running a restaurant is not just about me, right. Which I remember one day I'm not speaking about all of us as a whole, so there's some that would agree with me probably, but most of all, I remember the day we were like sitting around and I was like, why did you guys decide to do Top Chef? And my answer was like to be to meet chefs around the United States, to collaborate, to get inspired, and like they were all kind of looking at me like, who is this nutcase? Like I came to get recognized. I came to like win, and I came to, and I just didn't have that mentality going into the show, which also was my biggest threat. Like I was my own enemy in the show and not getting so far as I wish I would have,
Right.
you know, but it was the outlook that I, you know, I don't have that outlook in the way that I look at why I cook, you know?
Yeah, but that's not, and I mean, this is from somebody who, you know, from season 1 to now has watched it. That's refreshing, and that shines through. And now talking to you here about this, I'm like, all right, when the hell can I get out to San Diego to eat at Pacific Standard? How soon can that be? And I'm just going to substitute like everything. I'm going to be like, no, I want...
You can. I mean, doesn't mean that I won't curse you underneath my... No, I'm kidding. But I'll do it. I'll say yes.
Oh, my God. That's it. All right. So getting back to you as a story. See, I'm telling you, this is all over the place, and it's never changed. And I don't think it will. Looking back now to when you were growing up, not a chef yet, realizing food is, you know, cool, family cornerstone. What kind of an eater were you? Were you picky or were you not?
What was that? What was the last part? What kind of eater was I? And then what?
Yeah, picky or not?
Oh, I was the pickiest.
Really?
Yeah. I think that I just didn't know how to eat. And my parents, I mean, I love them, but they were from the city. They are like Mexico City. Mm-hmm. They didn't understand. I mean, they barely had gardens growing up. I mean, they lived in buildings. So it's not like I lived in San Diego. We could have had a garden growing up. And now that they've been in the United States for so long, my nephews are learning, like my grandparents have somewhat of a, like, understand that and teach that to my nephews. But I didn't really have an understanding that things came from the ground. You know, a lot of canned food. Not that it was, I mean, just the way that we cooked. My mom boiled and steamed vegetables, which I'm still to this day not a fan. And so I think it was more of the like the way that I was given food made me really picky. Yeah. I don't think that my mom ever made like beans fresh. They were always from a can. And so I grew up thinking that I didn't like beans, and I had no idea that there was millions and millions of different kinds of beans. Yeah. I just knew that beans were one kind.
Yeah, yeah, we're
and they
definitely
were from a can.
Definitely limited by our scope. Going back to literally the 4th episode of this show, I got in some major shit with my mother because Chef Gary Vatican, dear friend of ours now, and I related stories of Brussels sprouts and how they were basically exorcised growing up. They just had the hell boiled out of them. You know, toss them in the pot, let them go. And my mother calls me a week later. I'd like to talk to you, Sean, about the way you conveyed how I cook Brussels sprouts. And I'm hitting mute. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Okay, all right, talk about it. But it's true. And so to me, until I had, you know, actually recently we just had some like sweet charred Brussels sprouts, amazing to die for. But it's that texture that you don't necessarily get, say, like beans from a can. Totally.
Exactly.
Totally.
I think that nowadays, because of TV and what TV has done to educate everyone, we eat better at home. People are more creative, and kids grow up. Like, I watched that competition show of those little kids making pastry, and I am amazed. Yeah. I watched that at my parents' house. They have it on, like, they just like watching it, and I cannot believe that an 8-year-old child is making meringue. To me, that is outstanding. Like, that is mind-blowing. That is not what I was doing at 8 years old, and I know that it is an outcome of what TV and the tools that we have opened up for the new generations with culinary, but that was definitely not my childhood.
Oh, yeah. Well, but also keep in mind, you were an executive chef by 26, so I think you made up for lost time. I think that's a fair statement.
I was lucky, and I got some really good advice coming out of culinary school, which was, if you want to learn how to make bread, go work for the best baker. If you want to go, you know, just get inspired by chefs that you really, really respect, and do everything in your ability to move and to work for these chefs. And my family makes fun of me all the time because I bounced around and lived in different cities and just, they call it summer camp, that I moved to New York to summer camp, but I didn't. I moved to New York with all my stuff and went over there and thinking, this is how we grow as chefs. And when I got a new opportunity back in closer to home, I took it and I just kept moving and learning and absorbing as much as I could. So I was scared out of my mind when I took the chef job at 26. I remember one of my first few days, I was making something in the kitchen and it wasn't coming out. And the general manager came up to me and he was watching me really fuck up. And I was like, how do I keep my cool so he thinks that that I know what I'm doing? You know what I mean? Because I had no idea. But I mean, somehow I was able to convince them that I was ready, and I grew, and I really did grow into the position there. And I mean, that's how I'm able to run. I do run Pacific Standard, but I'm also the executive chef of the hotel, and I'm 32 now, so I continue to grow.
That's fucking insane, and I mean insane in the best possible way. But that's a lot of respect. But again, I think that goes back to, you talking about the fact that, you realized that you are the sum of the parts around you in the industry. I think if you hadn't done that, if you had been one of these, chin up, nose up types, I don't know that, all that would have fallen into place. But having that attitude seems to have served you very, very well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because I'm actually very lucky that the Top Chef experience for me has been extremely humbling because people have come up to me and just said really nice things to me. Mm-hmm.
Kind of like someone's kind of trying to, like, I always try. I have this balance of being a host and a fanboy. It's terrible. It is terrible. I feel like I'm bipolar. It's like, okay, all right, ask the questions, but don't fanboy too hard. And I'm like, oh, Giselle, you were really sweet on the show. It was awesome.
Well, thank you. I mean, I honestly, I'm really glad that I was able to show who I really am. I battle between, at work trying to, it's like, I call it like two personalities. Not that I show this side at work all the time as well, but you have to be a little bit stern. Right. And I mean, it's just been such a nice experience to have strangers tell me how they feel about me and that it's actually a positive thing. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm really, really, really humble. To me, being on Top Chef has just been an extremely humbling experience.
That's awesome. That's the way to take it. So getting back to that humble experience that you like just live and are awesome at, looking at you now as this culinary dynamo, 32, you're doing all these amazing things. When you were growing up to now, who has been your greatest culinary influence?
So, I've had many. My greatest. So I would have to say that.
You can go top 3. I don't want to push you into a corner.
Okay, I have top 3.
All right, top 3.
No, I have top 3. So Jesse Paul, who's a local chef here in San Diego, he was the chef that told me to go work for the best.
Nice.
And that's the best advice I've ever gotten in my career. And he has stayed extremely close to me, just supporting me as an older brother, always making sure that I'm making good choices. My second biggest influence was Tony DeSalvo, who I worked for 3 years, but was a huge mentor in my career. He was Jean George's right hand, and he was the help or the reason why I was able to get into the door at Jean George. Wow. And I learned a lot from him. And then the reason why I became a chef to begin with was when I graduated high school, the really driven individual that I've always been didn't really apply to college. And my parents found this to be like an extremely red flag. Mm-hmm. But they were cool enough to say, hey, just start off at the community college and you'll figure it out because you always do.
Right.
So meanwhile, I was cooking and to me, I was, it was Monday and I was saying to my mom, what are we going to cook for Shabbat dinner on Friday?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my mom's sister was going to culinary school. And so I was always calling her and asking her what we should do. And, one day they both came home with, like, my mom had asked her to bring a brochure of the culinary school here in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like, until that very moment, I had never really thought of cooking as a career. And my first inspiration was my aunt. And my aunt actually passed away suddenly from a heart attack 2 weeks prior to going to Top Chef. So that was
wow,
a really emotional, hard time for me to be actually on TV.
Holy
but yeah, she's the reason why I became a chef.
Wow. I don't have a quick quip to bring it back from that. That's
Yeah.
That's incredible though. And I mean, what a great tribute that
Absolutely.
must have been.
I was kind of bummed that they didn't show any, I think that a lot of the weakness that I showed on Top Chef had to do with my current state of mind.
I'm sure.
I was more concerned on how my family was and how my mom was doing and how my cousins were doing than really winning. And and I talked about it a lot during, I had spoken about it, but it didn't really make it on the show. And
it never made the role.
That was such a significant aspect of what I was going through at the time.
See, that's messed up. I mean, I'm obviously, sorry for the loss, but again, to look at what you did and to not know that, and to see how you still, like, I think I would be at least a 200 to 300% lesser human being than you in that instance. That's a lot. That's a lot, especially with her being that formative for your decision.
Actually, the episode that I go home was very difficult for me because she was the caterer. She was a Jewish caterer here in San Diego, and she worked at the Jewish Academy during that's where she kind of used the kitchen, and that was her day job. And then her daughter, my cousin, is a lesbian, and right now they're planning their wedding, and we were doing the gay wedding, cooking at the La Quinta High School.
Yeah.
So, it was just like, I remember driving onto the high school and being like, oh my God, I really? So to me, it was just like, they say, and like, I'm sure you've heard it from other people that you've interviewed, the second that you give up in the competition, it's just, you're just done.
It's over.
There's no more fight. And I remember driving onto that school and just being like, oh my God, I can't deal with this right now.
Wow. But again, you know what? Again, and I'm not, I'm running that line between host and fanboy and just like, decent human being. To hear that, to watch the show, to think about it, and to look at where you are, that's got to be rewarding as all hell.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what to say, because for so long I put my head down and worked that just recently I think I'm starting to put my look up, and realize, wow, I did do all that. But for the longest time my head was just down and I was just moving forward. So I think thank you.
Yeah.
I'm learning to take the compliments, and I'm learning to actually look around and realize my accomplishments.
And here, this is completely off script and borderline off topic completely. But my wife is the exact same way for so long. Went in, did what she had to do. A compliment, no, can't do that. It's all about the job at hand. But then she started to look at what she had accomplished, and then started to take pride in that, and she's experienced great success, lately. So, it looks to me like the same exact thing is happening for you, and that's great. That's good,
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's definitely what's happening right now. Especially with the the coming home to San Diego, and last night I had friends from high school come in, and seeing their excitement and how proud they are of me kind of makes me go like, wait, wow, it's pretty amazing what I've done. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, it is. Holy shit. Are we like having a moment here? Good Lord. Okay. So anyway, back to the hard hitting bullshit. So that's just such a cool story to hear. And everybody listening, people that listen, people that know me in real life will ask me, why do you do this? Why do you do this? It's a pastime. Well, yeah, it's a pastime. It's a hobby, but it's stories like those that every time I go into a new restaurant, I think there could be a story like that just a wall away from me. Bleeding, sweating, dying behind the line, for my enjoyment. Like that's huge. That's what makes food brilliant. And that's what makes folks who are the artisans thereof, that being you as well, chef, that's what makes them remarkable. That's why I ask these questions. So speaking of questions, let's take a look at what it is you're doing right here in the here and now. Pacific Standard Coastal Kitchen. Obviously, you're insanely busy. You mentioned to me before we started recording that you're redoing the menu as we speak.
Yeah, I'm redoing the menu next week for like fall into winter.
Okay. So when you are looking at doing such a thing, when you are looking at creating a dish, where do you pull that inspiration from personally? Where does Giselle Wellman go to find that?
That's, every single dish is different. And sometimes we go from memory, as in, it's funny because even though we make fun of the food that we kind of grew up on, there's so much interpretation of that comfortness that you felt at home that you can make into a dish that your mom could have never made, right. But somehow it is an inspiration of what you grew up on,
I feel you.
So sometimes it's that, and usually more during the holidays, and comfort food comes out like that. So I tend to pull a lot from memory. But obviously the vegetables that are coming in, and then things that we kind of run into, I don't know. I think we get inspired all the time. Of course, dining out, we get inspired from each other. So even if the food isn't like exactly what you do, but even if you go to Korean food or Thai food, there's influence for us everywhere. So I think that a chef needs to continually travel and continue eat out and continually just be exposed to different flavors and cultures and everything. So
always
really
be aware.
Hard. Yeah, it's so hard to say like, oh yeah, I get influenced by this one book. Like, no, I can't say that.
Right on. Is there something that you hang your figurative hat on as like your greatest creation you ever made? Something that you were so beamingly proud of?
I have things that I've made that I'm like, yeah, that's really fantastic. I made a vegan corn soup that I think is just ridiculous that there's nothing but corn in this soup, and I've been making it for years, and I just, every time that corn season comes around and I make the soup and I try it for the first time in 6 months, I'm like, oh yeah, I can't believe I made this soup.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I make this one dish that I really like for Thanksgiving that it's like an interpretation of my mom's, like the casserole that she pulls out. Like she used to open up the can and put the sweet potato and then like throw some marshmallows and call it a day. Put it in the oven and it comes out all toasty.
I got you, yeah.
So I make this dish where I sear the duck and I render the fat really nice on the duck breast. And then when I slice it really nice when the duck breast is medium rare, and I pipe meringue on the duck skin and I torch it and I put it on butternut squash, duck jus, and then like this little salad of sour cherries and pecans. And it's like a really nice, elegant dish, but it comes from like Thanksgiving is coming, and I think casserole with marshmallows,
Wow. Oh my God. I think I blacked out for a second, but I think I got most of those details in there. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, San Diego, tickets, Expedia.com. Right, got it. Okay. Um, so obviously you've got your finger on the pulse, both as just chef in general, but as executive chef, as the person running things. So for those of us like myself who are more layperson, what's coming down the pipe as the next big thing to watch in food? Farm to Table I think had a good run, but I think even that's kind of like it's played out.
I
What's
think
next?
actually, for me, the most important thing that I think chef's responsibility right now is sustainability. We are the top of this chain of decisions of what we do with our waste and who we choose to buy from. And I think we need to take that extremely serious.
Yeah.
I think that rustic is the way to go. I think throwing away half of a vegetable to get to a perfect cut is stupid. I think that we really, really need to open up and realize that food waste is a huge thing, that
Yes.
trash is a ginormous problem, and that we need to do the most we can do to eliminate and to, just be as aware as possible.
Yeah.
And that we have the ability to change.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. There's
So that's, to me, I mean, yes, you won't be able to feel that when you sit down and eat the food. It's the same food, but our decisions that we make in how we bring in our fish, how we treat our animals, how we, farm how we choose our farmers, I think that's the next thing that needs to happen in food.
Yeah, absolutely. There's again the same Chef Ran Local is working with the Ugly Produce program of a local grocery store and taking their stock in, and he's talking about doing meals for the homeless based on that stuff, because I think the percentage is sickening. I'm sure you probably know it better than I, but I think it's like 70% of produce is thrown away.
Yeah, and you walk into supermarkets and yes, Bristol Farms, it looks like a photograph. It's beautiful. But, what are we teaching? The other day, like, I put out for breakfast because we do like the hotel continental breakfast, and I put out these bananas that were a little brown, but not really. Like, we all have bananas like this at home. A lady made me change the thing because, like, a guest made me change them out and bring out brand new, like, beautiful yellow bananas. And the thing is, it doesn't go to waste because we make banana bread with it, and the older the banana, the better they are.
Right.
But there is, it's so hard. We go back to, hospitality.
Yeah.
I am unable to educate this person to tell her, you're absolutely wrong. This banana is fine, and better than fine. But, at the same time, I have to stay in hospitality and take it and change out the bananas. But it is definitely something that the more we can talk about it, the more we can educate people about the fact that, we have just become extremely picky with our food.
Yep.
And it's just unnecessary, and we're not gonna be a good example for the next generation if we don't change our ways.
Absolutely not. I've got 3 boys, and that's just eating in general is one of the first things that we've tried to instill in them and tried to make them aware. Like, hey, here's a farm. Hey, here's a farmer's market. This is the place you want to get your shit from. Now, we don't say shit because they're 9, 6, and 3. Although I'm sure that's in their ammo already. But anyway, so that's awesome to hear, and I really do hope, much the same as you do, that sustainability gets more of a critical eye placed on it. Absolutely, hands down. So, my next question is typically career-wise, what's next for you? Are you happy with what you're doing? You came home, you hit the home run. You got to come home and, like, do what you want to do. And so I guess the question is, like, how happy are you right now doing what you're doing?
It's funny because, well, I mean, I'm very, very happy with what I'm doing. So let's start there. But I thought I was extremely happy living in LA. And I thought I had it, I thought that was it for me. I had a great job and challenged every day. But I do think that as I do get older, I want a lot more balance in my life. And as I turn around and do see the accomplishments that I've made, I also realize that I've missed a lot of stuff too. And so I'm coming home to be closer to family and to not miss things that my nephews do. And that's actually become the balance of what I do for a living and what just humans really want in life,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, that's gotta feel good, especially when like your first answer about, growing up eating, it was like, yeah, food is family, and you've come back to your family with the food. So it's like this great circle that you're going through.
Yeah, I couldn't feel luckier. I really do think that coming back to my aunt, as things were just flowing in the right direction to move back home, and that the job just kind of appeared, and that the job wasn't just any job. It was a job that I actually, for the first time in a really long time, feel appreciated in. And I love the company that I work for, which I haven't said that in a really long time. I do believe that my Aunt Jenny was part of all of this, who passed away. That's my aunt who passed away.
I don't doubt it for a second. That's such a freaking cool storyline, and it's so insanely well deserved. Again, based on everything we saw, based on everything, like that's what you strive for, and it seems like you just hit it out of the park. So that's awesome. The afters section of questions, a little bit more fun, a little bit more quick fire off the cuff. Roll with me here. No one's ever been injured, but there is always a first time. So, I'm standing in your kitchen, professionally or at home. You can pick. What music do I hear?
In at home, Shakira.
Nice.
And at work, anything between like top 40s to oldies but goodies. There's a lot of characters and different. I think the oldies kind of do better just because everybody likes the Beatles and everybody, you know what I mean? There's certain music that makes everybody. I like upbeat, fun music. So I try to play music that are like that everyone, all cultures love, because like yesterday during service, Spotify has great like good mood, like like they're like the good mood movie, like there are these channels that they make and you never know what you're gonna get, and that's kind of the music that we play.
I forget which guest it was, but they floored me because we were talking about Pandora, and he says, yeah, there's this channel, Hip Hop Barbecue, and I'm like, holy shit, Hip Hop Barbecue, I love Hip Hop Barbecue. like it crossed the boundaries there. It is really, listen, I don't work for Pandora or anything like that. Hip Hop Barbecue, greatest old school hip hop channel in the history of channels.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna check that out. See, that's what I want. I want music that people are just so excited to listen to.
Oh my god.
And that, because I think that if you go too into a certain kind of music, there's always someone in the kitchen that gets kind of annoyed and can't take. They're like, I can't take any more Taylor Swift. I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
But like, you have like the guy that loves Sublime, and then you have the people that love Drake, and then so if you just play like a little bit of everything and just make everybody happy,
you're hitting on all cylinders. It's good. That's why I have chefs and brewmasters and cheesemakers on the show. Not everybody just wants straight up chefs the whole time. I get it. I feel you. Just call me hip hop podcast. I don't know. All right, enough of that shit. So hypothetical situation: you're going to be stranded on a deserted island, and you can only take 3 foods with you. What would they be and why?
Salt. Is that a food?
I can you eat it? Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I can't eat anything without salt. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, even if I chose Okay. Avocado. Maybe tomatoes. So now I have like salsa.
Oh,
But
I
I don't
love
really
it.
like tomatoes, so I don't think tomatoes.
No, not tomatoes. All right, we'll take it back up. We'll take it back up.
The third one would be almonds. I don't know.
Almonds.
I really
like
like
it.
almonds.
All right.
Is that boring? I don't
No,
know.
that's not
Three
boring.
is like, what can I make with this food?
Like, it's a hypothetical situation that's never going to occur. So, all right, cool. I like it. It's
I like
fantastic.
watermelon.
There you
I think
go.
I could live off watermelon.
I'll tell you
actually.
what. I'll tell you what. You can distill the salt from the ocean water. We'll give you watermelon. How about that? You're
I love
good.
it. Okay.
Oh my God.
Perfect.
You're the
Thank
healthiest
you.
stranded person ever in the history of stranded people. Terrific.
I know. I didn't mean to do that. I just.
That's cool. See you at the gym tomorrow, Giselle. Said no one. All right. So.
I want bacon.
Oh my.
See, that's not what I.
All
would.
right.
I
All right.
wouldn't want to eat bacon every day, though.
Oh my
you
God,
know?
I don't even know you anymore. So my wife actually interviewed me for the 20th episode, and she gave me shit for it because she asked me that question. And I said, beef, bourbon, beer. And she goes, oh my God, Sean, you're going to be drunk and have cancer. I said, I'm going to be drunk. I'm not going to care. Like, if I'm on an island, I'm not getting off. I'm okay. Carpaccio,
Oh,
a little bourbon.
I don't know if that was a good one. I'd have to rethink this. I didn't even think about getting drunk.
This is why I don't
But I
prep
think I
people.
would go more for like champagne, like endless champagne.
Rosé.
Yeah, something
right.
like that. Like by the beach.
By
Like
the
you
beach,
would have like
you're
a
done.
tan and rosé. That would be amazing.
You're done. This is all right. Here it is, episode 47. The first guest I ever gave 4 choices to. You, Chef Giselle, are something special. Speaking of the podcast, a quick history lesson I give everybody. Have you heard of Melanie Dunea before?
Of where?
Melanie Dunea. She's an author, and she did a book called My Last Supper.
Oh yes, I have. Yes.
Oh
yes.
my God, you are like literally
Isn't it the best book ever?
It's amazing. B, she did a follow-up. Do you know this?
No.
The next course, and it's got Marco Pierre White holding a huge loaf of bread in front of his face for the follow-up. So it's another 50. So, oh my God, you are literally...
Oh, I didn't know this.
You're like 5% of people who know who Melanie Dunea is and know about these books. So anyway, I based the format kind of off her whole shtick. You know, here's pre-formatted questions to people. Let's see how different people work. So her questions obviously revolve around, you know, you're checking out tomorrow. Today's your last day. What would it be? And so I ask you, Chef, what is your last supper?
Mole.
Mole. And see, you're not playing because you're from Mexico City. Like you've got that. You've got that in your back pocket. We have a timeshare in Puerto Vallarta, and I love going because one, after about 2 hours off the plane, my Spanish returns completely, and two, I gained like 30 pounds solid the last week we went.
Like there's something about a fresh tortilla
Oh.
dipped in mole.
There's
It's just amazing.
you're not kidding. You are not kidding. So mole's on there. Posole.
Sopa de tortilla. That's a favorite. I love Mexican food. Chilaquiles.
Oh my God! I got introduced to those as a hangover cure for breakfast, and it was amazing.
Oh, it's the best.
Holy shit!
Yeah, chilaquiles. I think that I would want my last meal to be breakfast, and I could do with like chilaquiles and enchiladas de mole.
Oh my God, that's terrific. That's terrific. Served with rosé, of course.
Yes.
All right.
Well, at this point, like I think I want tequila.
Tequila. All right. Yes. That's a meal after my own heart. So, finally, the last question, the simplest and yet the most complex. What is food to you in one word?
Love.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And I mean, that's came out. And see, there's so many times as I'm doing the interview, I start to formulate in my head, all right, what's going to be the one word? What's going to be the one word? And for you, it was either love or family. And like, you know, love, that just makes sense from your upbringing to your story to what you're doing now. And the reason why you went back to where you went back to. I mean, it's all centered around love. Yeah.
Yeah. I have this thing. I tell my line cooks all the time that you can't cook without love and salt. That's like my saying.
I love it.
Because I'll say, like, either it's missing love or it's, like, when a dish didn't come out right, it's either missing love or it was missing salt. Like, it's always those two things.
I love that. I'm writing it down right now if you hear awkward pencil scratchings. Because my wife is a saltaholic, too, and she'll love that. She'll be like, oh, my God, she's brilliant. My wife doesn't really talk like that, but, you know, you get me, so... Chef Giselle Wellman, let's do the standard out here. Pacific Standard Coastal Kitchen. You're located at 2137 Pacific Highway in sunny San Diego, California, 92101, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Correct. Come visit me, guys.
Come visit Chef Giselle. Call 619-819...
What, was that on purpose?
No, that wasn't. That should have been. That was awesome, right? It was like a phone ring. Let's do that phone number again, shall we? Crazy radio voice. You can call Pacific Standard Coastal Kitchen at 619-819-0090. They are located at pacificstandardrestaurant.com. You folks are also on the Book of Face and the Insta of Grams, correct? Looks like
yes,
you've got all
we
that
are.
action.
And I have my own Instagram, which is GIS Wellman, just Wellman. Wellman.
GIS Wellman on Instagram. Also clearly accessible on Facebook, as I illustrated by cold calling her virtually and freaking her out. But she decided to do the show, and I am ever so grateful for your time, Chef. So once again,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
All right,
you can reach out anytime. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's what I love to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 47 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. My producer, as always, is the voluptuous Johnny Leland Robinson, the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Check out his podcast, Cinematic Pig's Feet. Next episode, 48, we're heading back home for a little more beer. Stay tuned.